In this video, you'll get shot placement details for 10 different deer images, and you'll learn to apply the rules I shared in our main shot placement video. Here's a link to that video if you haven't already seen it. Welcome to the Red Kettle channel. This is where you get a view under the bonnet. I'll share updates on product development and tips and tricks for efficient hunting. Today you'll get 10 shot placement examples to help set you up for success when hunting. Let me just say that all of the scenarios are out of season and a few of them don't qualify as safe shooting. Ignore that. We use these images exclusively to discuss correct shot placement. Let's get to it. Here's a perfect broadside shot, and we can apply the vital zone triangle and use the center of that triangle as our aiming point for a double long shot. Remember the shot placement rules. Rule number 2 states that you should put your crosshairs between 1/3 and halfway up the body to find the center. And rule number 3 states that for a broadside shot, you should put your vertical post on the middle of the front leg. So that's where you put your crosshairs. This is a perfect broadside shot, but we rarely get the luxury of that kind of scenario. It's the same animal that's taken a step forward to feed off the willow shoots. And the first thing to notice is that the vertical line through the middle of the front leg no longer works as a reference point because that leg is too far forward. What about the vital triangle? Well, same case. When we draw it on the near side, we've got to remember that the bone structure has moved forward, but we can compare it with the same triangle further back, aligned with the far leg. For a shot like this, where each leg is roughly the same amount forward and back, we can split the difference. You can put the crosshairs in the middle where the legs meet. Here's an image of a rhodo, again a broadside shot, but she's kind of bunched up because she's feeding. The triangle still applies, and the aiming point is roughly around here. And this is where you're going to put your crosshairs. I would, however, recommend waiting till she pauses to look around, like she does here. This way it's a little bit easier to navigate on the body, and you can follow rule 2 and come up 1/3 or 1/2 of the body to find your aiming point. Again, the legs are split, so we aim between them and put your aiming point here and your crosshairs on top. Remember image 2? Here's the opposite scenario. The near leg is back and the far leg is forward. Here's the aiming point for a broadside shot with straight legs, but as discussed earlier, we've got to adjust for the difference between the two sides. It's worth noting that the far leg is a little bit further forward than the near leg is to the rear, so I suggest you don't split the difference completely. Put your aiming point here instead and your crosshairs on top. Here's a rear quartering shot. Rule number 6 states that you need to aim just inside the far leg for a 45-degree rear quartering shot. This one looks a tad more than 45 degrees, but not so much I'd deviate from the rule. However, word of caution, rule number 5 states that you shouldn't shoot beyond 45 degrees from a square broadside shot. That's to avoid contaminating the carcass, to avoid insufficient penetration when shooting on large-bodied animals. In this case, it looks like we're only a fraction past 45 degrees, so if it's a short distance where we expect high accuracy, I'd be happy to take the shot. This is aiming point, and you put your crosshairs on top. Animals don't always quarter perfectly at 45 degrees. In those cases, how do we apply rules 4 and 6? Here's one of those examples. The animal is not broadside, but it's also not quartering at 45 degrees. So instead of aiming inside the far leg, as per rule 6, I suggest you aim midway between the legs in this case. Aiming point here, crosshairs on top. So we've covered a rear quartering shot. What about the front quartering shot? This is a front quartering shot, and rule number 4 states you must aim inside the near leg for a 45-degree front quartering shot. This one is a little bit past 45 degrees. And according to rule 5, we shouldn't take the shot because we're starting to only damage one lung. This one is borderline, so I'd adjust my aiming point slightly and shoot the deer. Here's the aiming point for the 45-degree angle, and we'll change that or adjust that to the slightly steeper angle and aim here, put our crosshairs right on top. Now we're looking at a straight-on front shot, and rule number 5 definitely applies here. The aiming point is small, you're likely to only destroy one lung. You're likely to contaminate the carcass when shooting a small deer like this. And if the animal drops its heads to feed, it's really easy to also wound it. I recommend that you don't take the shot unless you've already wounded the animal. What about the opposite end? Well, Same rule and conditions apply. In this case, the animal is at a slight angle, but as explained in the video with the shot diagrams, I suggest you don't take this kind of shot unless you've wounded the animal. This was just a quick review of 10 different examples. If you haven't already watched the main shot placement video, I suggest you do it. You'll get 9 rules, 11 scenarios, 18 diagrams to set you up for success. There are many other factors when it comes to killing a deer or other hoofed animal. And we'll keep adding videos to the shot placement playlist, including shot placement pitfalls, bullet choice, and much more. Check out the playlist to set yourself up for success when hunting.